face the truth directly without any whitewashing or concealment. You are deeply mired in the quagmire of exhaustion, and it feels like life's wringing you dry.
Behind this indescribable weariness lies a hidden yet fatal root cause. And it's not what you think. It's not the pending tasks. It's not the work pressure, and it's not even family problems. It's something deeper. It's like a silent parasite in your life. Your overaccessibility. Have you ever wondered why certain relationships leave you completely drained? Why some interactions suck the life force right out of you, while others energize and inspire you? Some people drain every ounce of your energy. You're kind. You're respectful. Always there when they need you. You respond to every message, pick up every call, show up whenever they ask. Yet at the end of the day, you feel empty, wondering where all your energy went. This feeling isn't random. Your constant availability, what you've been taught is a virtue, is actually the silent thief of your peace. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when your entire being wanted to scream no? How many times have you explained yourself to people who never deserved an explanation? How many pointless arguments have left you drained? They're not with you. They're with your availability. The truth is uncomfortable. Your excessive availability is not a virtue. It's a prison. And as long as you remain trapped, you will be manipulated, drained, discarded once you're no longer useful. Because you're too available for those who don't even deserve a minute of your silence. When you're constantly available, constantly reacting, responding, seeking approval, avoiding rejection, you remain trapped in the ego's limited perspective. You're like a wave that never realizes it's part of the ocean, constantly fearing its own dissolution. Carl Jung understood this. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. This isn't just a clever quote. It's a roadmap to self-discovery hidden within our most challenging relationships. When someone constantly irritates you, when they push your buttons, when they trigger emotional reactions, they're not just being difficult. They're revealing something crucial about your own unresolved wounds. Your own boundaries, your own need to please. They're showing you exactly where you need to grow. But here's the question that changes everything. What happens when you choose silence over pointless arguments? When you prioritize your peace over others' expectations? Everything changes. The entire dynamic shifts. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming whole. Guarding your energy isn't selfish, it's wisdom in motion. You can't give your best to the world if you're running on empty. It's about what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming your complete, authentic self. This journey begins when you understand that your energy is sacred. Your time is finite. Not everyone deserves access to either. Jung observed something profound. Our most triggering relationships often reflect disowned parts of ourselves. Aspects we've rejected, suppressed, never fully integrated. He called this the shadow. Think about someone who consistently irritates you. Maybe it's their neediness, their arrogance, their victim mentality, their constant need for validation. Now ask yourself this uncomfortable question. Is there a part of you that resembles this quality? A part you've disowned or refused to acknowledge? Let's explore why your unavailability might be the most powerful gift you can give, both to yourself and to those who truly value your essence rather than just your utility. If these contents resonate with you, please click the subscribe button. I'm truly grateful for your liking. When you stop being available to everyone, you finally become available to yourself. Lesson 1. Pause before reacting. My silence will be my power. Have you ever noticed? Some people have an almost magnetic presence. They enter a room and without saying a word, they command attention and respect. They don't need to raise their voice or dominate the conversation. Their very being speaks volumes. What you're witnessing is someone who has mastered the art of energy conservation. Someone who understands that true power doesn't lie in constant expression but in strategic silence. Jung recognized this when he spoke about the power of the unconscious mind, the vast reservoir of energy that lies beneath our conscious awareness. He understood that this energy, when properly contained and channeled, becomes a force of tremendous creative and personal power. But most people leak this energy constantly through excessive talking, emotional reactivity, the desperate need to be seen and validated. They're like a bucket with holes constantly emptying no matter how much is poured in. The truth is that silence is one of the most powerful tools for energy conservation and personal transformation. Not the silence of repression or fear, but the silence of self-possession. The silence that comes from knowing you don't need to explain, defend, or justify yourself to everyone who demands it. Most people are slaves to their impulses, reacting without thinking and responding without any filter. But you are different. You have the ability to choose silence amidst the hubbub of the crowd, and to choose calmness in the face of collective panic. In depth psychology, this is known as inner sovereignty, the ability to rule over oneself, rising above the storms of the outside world. When you cultivate this sovereignty, the outside world loses its hold over you. The opinions of others turn into distant whispers, and social pressures dissipate like mist in the sunlight. When you stop being verbally available for every conversation, when you choose silence over pointless debate, a presence that others can feel without you saying a word, when you no longer feel compelled to express every thought, to react to every provocation, to be accessible for every demand, you create space for something deeper to emerge from within you, a kind of presence that speaks louder than words ever could. And in that presence, you'll find a power that no amount of talking, explaining, or convincing could ever give you. Because true power doesn't announce itself, it doesn't need to. It simply is. Understanding that your emotional reactions aren't just about others. They're portals to deeper self-knowledge. When you react strongly, something significant is being revealed about you. But here's where most people get stuck. They become emotional puppets, pulled by strings they don't even see and caught in cycles of reaction, constantly giving away their power through automatic responses, explanations, justifications. What if instead of reacting you paused? What if instead of immediately responding to that triggering message you took a deep breath? Asked yourself, what is this reaction telling me about myself? What wound is being touched here? This simple pause changes everything. This moment of conscious unavailability transforms you from a reactive object to a conscious subject. It puts you back in control of your own emotional responses, and this is precisely where your power begins to return. When you stop being immediately available to every emotional trigger, you start to master your own internal world. You begin to see the patterns, the hooks, the ways you've been manipulated through your own unhealed wounds. This doesn't mean you become cold or unresponsive. It means you become selective. You choose when and how to engage, rather than being pulled into every emotional storm that passes your way. Jung understood that true individuation requires this kind of emotional sovereignty. It requires the ability to stand firm in your own center, even when others are trying to pull you off balance. And the first step in this journey is learning to recognize when your buttons are being pushed, when you're being manipulated through your own reactivity. Once you see the game, you can choose whether or not to play. When you master this practice, you'll find yourself capable of things you never thought possible. Make choices from a place of possibility rather than limitation. And you'll discover a kind of freedom that no external circumstance can give or take away. true freedom doesn't come from controlling your environment or getting everyone to treat you exactly as you'd like. It comes from liberating yourself from the internal narratives that have kept you small, scared, excessively available. And in that liberation, you'll discover that you were never truly bound by anything except your belief in your own limitations. But this journey isn't just theoretical, it's intensely practical. So how do we get started? Beginning with small choices in everyday moments. You start small. You start with a pause. The next time someone makes a demand on your time or energy, pause before responding. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this deserving of my energy right now? Is this aligned with my deeper values? Will saying yes to this mean saying no to something more important to me? The next time you feel triggered or reactive, pause before responding. Ask yourself, what's really being activated here? Is this reaction serving me? Do I need to respond at all? The next time you find yourself seeking validation or approval, pause before posting, sharing, or explaining. Ask yourself, am I doing this from a place of self-trust or from a need for external validation? Would I still make this choice if no one ever knew about it? These pauses are the seeds of profound transformation, these tiny moments of unavailability. They create space between stimulus and response, between external demands and internal choice. And in that space, your freedom begins. As you practice this pause, you'll find it easier to say no without guilt, to set boundaries without fear, to withdraw your energy from spaces and relationships that drain rather than nourish you. You'll become more selective about where you invest your presence. And in that awareness, you begin to connect with something deeper than your conditioned responses, something more stable, more authentic, more aligned with your true nature. This is what Jung meant by connecting with the self, not the ego self that's constructed through external validation and social conditioning, but the deeper self that exists beyond these temporary identifications. Lesson 2: Establishing clear boundaries through strategic unavailability. Think about how much energy you waste in a single day, explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you, engaging in pointless arguments where no one's mind will be changed, trying to impress people who are determined to be unimpressed, seeking validation from those who are invested in keeping you insecure, responding to every notification, message, and demand for your attention. This isn't just a metaphor, it's a very real energetic exchange. Every interaction involves an exchange of energy. Every conversation, every relationship, as if they've somehow extracted your life force, leaving you empty and exhausted. Each of these is an energy leak, a place where your vital force escapes without return or reward. Now imagine what might happen if you sealed these leaks, if you stopped explaining yourself, if you became selective about where and with whom you spend your energy. This is the power of setting psychological boundaries, of creating a clear, energetic perimeter between yourself and the demands of the world. Jung understood this when he spoke about psychic energy, the vital force that animates our thoughts, emotions, and actions. He recognized that this energy is finite, precious, easily dispersed through unconscious patterns of interaction. Boundaries aren't walls. They don't isolate you from meaningful connection. Rather, they're filters that allow the nourishing in and keep the depleting out. They're the guardrails that protect your energy from being scattered and wasted. And yet, for many people, the very idea of setting boundaries triggers intense guilt and fear. They worry they'll be seen as selfish, difficult, uncaring. They fear rejection, abandonment, conflict. This fear reveals how deeply the people-pleasing conditioning runs, how thoroughly we've been taught that our needs matter less than others' expectations. But here's what Jung understood. Without clear boundaries, there can be no true self, Without the ability to say no, your yes has no meaning. Without the courage to disappoint others, you'll inevitably end up disappointing yourself. Remember this principle. When helping anyone with anything, never let it cause you trouble. You can lend a hand, but the key is not to get yourself entangled. Otherwise, it's not really helping. It's just creating problems for yourself. No matter how big someone else's issue is, don't help at the cost of your own interests. People won't be grateful for the sacrifices you make. They'll just be glad they got through their tough times. They don't really care if you end up in a difficult situation because of helping them. And when you truly internalize this truth, you'll find it much easier to say no without guilt, to set boundaries without fear, to withdraw your energy from spaces and relationships that drain rather than nourish you. When you stop being available to everyone, you send a powerful message, both to others and to yourself. My presence is valuable. My energy is precious. My time is finite. Not everyone deserves access to these treasures. Lesson 3. Build self-confidence and self-worth. From childhood, we're taught that being good means being available, helpful, accommodating, always putting others' needs before our own. Sometimes you are trapped in an illusion that being present for everyone will make someone present for you. This conditioning runs deep. Many of us have completely lost touch with our own worth outside of what we provide to others. We've become human doings rather than human beings. And here's the cruel irony. The more available you make yourself, the less valued you become. Think about it. What do we value most in life? The rare, the scarce, the hard to obtain. We value what we have to earn, what isn't handed to us freely. This isn't just human nature. It's a fundamental psychological principle. When you're available to everyone all the time, you become common. And what's common, no matter how valuable it might actually be, is rarely treasured. This is why people who constantly say yes often find themselves taken for granted, overlooked, undervalued. Their very reliability makes them invisible. But the moment you become selective with your energy, something remarkable happens. People begin to recognize your worth. Those who only valued you for your utility will be frustrated, even angry. They'll accuse you of changing, of becoming selfish or distant. But their reaction isn't about you changing for the worse. It's about you no longer being functional for them. They value what you provide, not who you are. Jung understood this distinction profoundly. He saw how many people live their entire lives wearing a persona, a social mask designed to win approval and avoid rejection. This persona might earn you acceptance, but it will never bring you genuine connection or respect. Because real connection is built on being seen and valued for who you truly are, not just for what you can provide. This is why becoming selectively unavailable is so powerful. It's not about playing games or manipulating others. You are valuable simply because you exist. Your worth doesn't depend on how useful you are to others, how much you produce, or how available you make yourself. You're not a 24-hour hotline, nor are you an emotional life raft for everyone. You are here to build yourself up and safeguard your peace of mind as if it were a priceless treasure. The only approval that truly matters comes from within yourself. Quality always outweighs quantity. True respect grows from the integrity of your character. You don't need to earn love and acceptance by sacrificing your own needs. And in that declaration of self-worth, you begin to attract people who value you for your essence, not just your utility. They will value your well-being, your boundaries, and your need for space. They won't get upset when you prioritize yourself. Lesson 4. The solitude of the strong is the path to true freedom. Jung said true individuality means stepping back from the crowd, taking off the masks and walking alone for a while. That's exactly what you're doing when you stop being available. You're not running from the world, you're coming home to yourself. Now you're no longer just reacting to everything, but creating. Not being shaped by your environment, but building reality from within. You'll lose the crowd, but find yourself, miss some events, but reconnect with what matters. First comes the awkward silence. Your mind screams, "Is this right? Too harsh? Will people stop liking me?" But gradually that silence changes, it cleanses, calms, and heals. Then comes the loneliness, not empty loneliness, but the fullness of being completely yourself. The kind of solitude strong people choose. No more betraying yourself to keep others close. Use this time to invest in becoming the best version of you. Do what lights you up. Quit performing. Focus. Show up for yourself like it's your job. You can't build a fulfilling life if you're surrounded by people who only show up when they need something from you. Learn to identify emotional vampires, those who come just to suck the energy out of you and disappear once they've depleted it. Don't be afraid to close the door. A closed door makes room for the things that truly matter. The most centered people seem to have an internal compass that guides them regardless of external chaos. They don't get pulled into every drama, swayed by every opinion, knocked off balance by every criticism. This internal stability doesn't come from isolation or indifference. It comes from a deep connection to something within themselves, something Jung called the self with a capital S. In Jung's understanding, this self is not something we create. It's something we discover through the process of individuation. It's already there, whole and complete, and this energy, when properly channeled, the kind that fundamentally changes who you are and how you move through the world. Because true growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the quiet moments of choice when no one is watching and no one will ever know except you. And those choices, accumulated over time, become the foundation of an unshakable self-discipline. It's about asking yourself, would I still do this if no one ever knew? Would I still make this choice if it earned me no praise or recognition? When you learn to trust your own judgment and honor your own commitments without external reinforcement, you begin to act from internal conviction rather than external pressure. The journey begins with a single pause, a single moment of conscious choice, and in that moment everything changes. I'd love to hear from you. How has excessive availability affected your life and relationships? What's one area where you could practice strategic unavailability this week? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let's continue this conversation. We've explored how strategic unavailability can transform your relationships, reclaim your energy, establish healthy boundaries, build genuine self-discipline, connect you with your deeper self. But there's one more dimension to consider, perhaps the most important of all. What happens when you stop being available not just to others, but to your own limiting beliefs about yourself? Jung understood that much of our suffering comes not from external circumstances, but from internal narratives. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we're capable of, what we deserve. These narratives aren't random, they're constructed from childhood experiences. Cultural conditioning, painful memories, misinterpreted events. They become the invisible architecture of our lives, shaping our choices, reactions, and possibilities without our conscious awareness. And the most limiting narratives often center around our availability. Our belief that we must be available in certain ways to be worthy of love, respect, or belonging. I must always be strong for others. I must never disappoint anyone. I must always put others' needs before my own. I must earn my right to exist through constant productivity. I must be perfect to be worthy of love. These narratives keep us trapped in patterns of excessive availability, people-pleasing, self-abandonment. But what if you became unavailable to these narratives? This is perhaps the most powerful form of strategic unavailability. The refusal to be available to your own limiting stories about yourself. It doesn't mean denying these thoughts exist or suppressing them when they arise. It means recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that can observe thoughts arising and choose whether to believe them. When you practice this form of unavailability, something remarkable happens. The narratives that have controlled you for years begin to lose their power. The beliefs that have limited you begin to dissolve. At this moment, you only embrace what resonates with your inner peace, truth, and wholeness. If you've made it this far, it means that a part of you is already ready to embark on a new journey. A part of you has come to understand that being loved is meaningless if it requires you to abandon yourself. True self-love begins with choosing yourself, even if the price is temporary loneliness. Move forward with the certainty that your energy is limited, your time is finite, and your peace of mind is sacred. Protect them as if you were guarding your last fortress, because within this protection lies your true freedom, and within that freedom lies your genuine power. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, or even hated for the sake of your inner freedom? Are you willing to pay the price of being your true self? If this message touches you, write, "I choose my peace." Let's see how many here are ready for transformation. Don't forget to subscribe and watch the next video. It's even more important than you imagine. See you next time.